Today in our content corner, we're talking about 8.11b, which is essentially the same as 8.11a. It's just now that we're talking about human activities instead of natural events. So our students should be able to answer the question, how might human decisions and behavior influence climate? They should be able to use words such as greenhouse gases, which they should know by now include carbon dioxide and methane, deforestation, and urbanization. Other words that they should be familiar using is climate. So what I've pulled here is a writing graphic organizer, and I just pulled this from HMH in the planning section. They have a bunch of these graphic organizers. So my idea is I would have students be collecting evidence because our TEAC here says that they want students to use scientific evidence. So as I go through lessons in HMH or other class activities, I want them to be collecting details about different pieces of evidence that are going to help them form a claim that answers the question, how might human decisions and behaviors influence climate? Now, also looking at the TEAC, I want to make sure that at least one of these details has to do with the release of greenhouse gases. So if I'm looking at the carbon cycle and we're talking about how humans impact the climate, then my release of greenhouse gases are going to be coming from factories and cars. Then my second detail that I'm looking for students to use evidence for should be on deforestation. And again, I want to relate it back to the carbon cycle. If I were to remove the plants, then I have less plants that are going to be able to remove the carbon dioxide from the air. So there's going to be a buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And then third, we have urbanization. In urbanization, there is a good activity in HMH that's all about how changing the landscape of our cities can actually increase the temperature of the cities. And it's looking at the schools, so investigating heat islands, and it talks about the blacktop and the asphalt and the different landscapes of a city are going to absorb the heat and the radiation from the sun more than the trees and the grass. Those are going to reflect heat back away from the earth. So the way our cities are built and their landscapes are actually trapping the heat, making these heat islands, and it actually increases the temperature of cities. They have a chance to investigate this here using either HMH or this is the Pocket Lab, which Pocket Lab's going to allow them to enter data easier than it would on paper, and it would even allow them to make a chart or a graph in a more scaffolded way than having to do that on paper as well. But you're free to do it on paper or explore this new Pocket Lab option to see if that's something you're interested in. So we've talked about these three: greenhouse gases, deforestation, urbanization, and all of this they could be using as you go through that interactive lesson. And as you're interacting with the students throughout your lesson, they can be collecting and using this evidence to later at the end come back and make a claim to answer this question. And again, this is also linked on your IUP for Write a Little, Write a Lot, a quick exit ticket that you can use with your students where they're looking for cause and effect when one thing is changed in this carbon cycle, either by natural events or human impact, then what is the effect on the climate? I did want to add one more little thing, and that is on the urbanization. I talked a lot about the landscape of the city, but it also is just increasing the size and population of cities and towns. So the more people we have, the more cars we have, the more greenhouse gases are released.